Magomed Ankalaev's wrestling will not be enough this Saturday at UFC 313 to defeat Alex Pereira. This is the opinion I hold. I am picking Alex Pereira to win by third round KO, but I want to talk about why am I picking Alex Pereira, because a lot of people seem to believe that Ankalaev is just going to mop the floor with Pereira because of his grappling, because Ankalaev is going to be able to get a takedown quite easily, and Alex Pereira is going to be hopeless. And while I do think that in the fight, Ankalaev will be able to get him down multiple times, I don't think once he gets him down that the fight is necessarily over. And I want to look back at Ankalaev's wins and just say, man, anytime he's stepped up and fought the top of the top, he's kind of struggled. When you look at Magomed Ankalaev's recent wins, look at his win against Rakic. Fights Rakic, who's on a 2-fight losing streak, looks very flat, not a very entertaining performance. Fair enough, he wins the unanimous decision. Fights Jan Blachowicz, gets destroyed in the first couple rounds, has to resort to wrestling in the latter rounds after getting his legs chewed apart, and then fights to a draw and doesn't win the belt. TKO's Anthony Smith. It's Anthony Smith. At the end of the day, Anthony Smith has never been the best kind of guy. Thiago Santos gets dropped in that fight, has a pretty flat performance there. Volkan Oezdemir in that fight had not the best performance there. He beat Krylov back in 2021. That's a good win. Kutalaba, not a great win. And that's all of his wins. So it's like, for me, to the people that are saying that Alex Pereira is just going to get destroyed by Magomed Ankalaev, I think they're just basing it on the fact that he's from Dagestan and he hasn't lost in a long time. But let me just say, Alex Pereira is the best fighter that Magomed Ankalaev has ever faced, and it's not even close. He's better than Rakic, he's better than Walker, he's better than Anthony Smith, better than Thiago Santos, Volkan Oezdemir, Nikita Krylov. He is the best fighter that Magomed Ankalaev has ever faced. And likewise, I do think that Magomed Ankalaev is the hardest matchup for Alex Pereira. But I just don't see this like insane wrestling prowess from Ankalaev where the second he shoots a takedown, Alex Pereira is going to flop on his back like a fish and just accept defeat. I don't see it. Do I think that Ankalaev in the fight will get takedowns? Absolutely. I do think he will be able to get Alex Pereira to the mat. But the difference is, I don't see a world where Ankalaev just pounds him out. Let's look back at Ankalaev's career, and he's never really been a guy that's had devastating ground and pound. I mean, sure, he finished Anthony Smith on the ground, but typically, if he beats up somebody on the ground, it's because he dropped him first. Even in his fight against Jan Blachowicz, sure, he dominated the last 2 rounds, but in that fight, he did not open up a cut on Jan Blachowicz despite having him on the ground for 2 rounds. He kind of just laid and prayed, controlled him, and just land pitter-patter, ground and pound shots on the ground. Nothing to do of damage. Enough for him to secure the rounds and secure the draw. So my point is, wow. And another, actually, before I even say that, another thing I want to drive home is that people are also saying that he's going to submit Alex Pereira. Well, I'll have you know that Ankalaev doesn't have a single submission win in his entire UFC career. Not a single one. I don't even think he has a submission win in his entire MMA career. His only submission victory is whenever he made a guy tap to punches. That was way back when, but Ankalaev is not a wrestler or a grappler. He's a striker. The reason people are pointing out his wrestling is because they know that that's pretty much his only path to victory against Alex Pereira. Every second he spends on the feet with Alex Pereira, he's in danger of getting knocked out. And Magomed Ankalaev has been talking a lot of smack on Twitter. Sure, you can say it's Ali Abdelaziz, but at the end of the day, we know that Ankalaev is okaying all those tweets. Abdelaziz does tweet it, but Ankalaev knows what he's saying, and he seconds a lot of it at press conferences. And yeah, there's been a lot of trash talk in the build-up to UFC 313, and Alex Pereira's throwing out bets himself, which is kind of funny. But I just think the narrative that Magomed Ankalaev is just going to dog walk Alex Pereira because his wrestling is just not true. Like I said, I think people underestimate Alex Pereira's ability to survive on the ground, shown in the Jan Blachowicz fight. And I would argue that Jan Blachowicz is more dangerous on the ground than Ankalaev. Sure, Ankalaev might have the better takedowns, but when it comes to submissions and getting guys out of there on the ground, I would argue that Jan Blachowicz is more dangerous than Magomed Ankalaev, because Ankalaev doesn't really get guys down all that often. Who was the last time he got somebody on the ground? Who was it? Anthony Smith, and he TKO'd him on the ground? Dude, anytime Anthony Smith gets on the ground, he shells up into a fetal position and gives up. That's just the reality of it. But like I said, I do concede that Ankalaev will get Alex Pereira down in the fight, probably more than once. But I also believe that Alex Pereira will survive and he will get up. And also, I can see a world, and I do believe this. I'm making a prediction right now. Alex Pereira will be throwing up submissions left and right. He's going to be going for guillotines if Ankalaev shoots in. He's going to be going for arm bars and triangles. He's going to try and make Ankalaev remember, hey, man, your only submission loss is to a triangle by Paul Craig. Watch me throw up a triangle. I'm not useless on the ground. And let's not forget, Alex Pereira trains with Glover Teixeira. He's not just going to be useless on the ground. I know there's something to be said about a guy who's only been practicing and grappling for maybe 10 years versus a guy, Ankalaev, who's been doing it his whole life. But Ankalaev's a striker. He's not a grappler. That's just a reality. Like I said, the only reason his grappling is being glazed and pointed out so heavily is because his fans and everybody like his fans know that his only path to victory is to grapple. If he goes out there and tries to stand in the pocket and trade with Alex Pereira, he will be put to sleep. And I know people are saying that the leg kicks won't come as easy for Alex Pereira because of the stances. Magomed's a southpaw. And apparently, Alex Pereira struggles against southpaws. That's also another narrative going into the fight because he got hit with straight rights by Israel Adesanya. And Alex Pereira is susceptible to the straight right. But, I mean, he's knocked out southpaws. So to say that that's his Achilles heel, I think the biggest thing that Alex Pereira has to worry about is the takedown and just being controlled into a decision. If Ankalaev gets Alex Pereira down, I do not see him getting a ground and pound finish. I don't see him getting a submission win. So with that being said, it's either going to be Alex Pereira is going to knock him out cold, which is what I'm predicting, a round 3 KO, or Magomed Ankalaev is going to take him down and just kind of control and land little pitter-pat shots on the ground. And I do believe in moments Alex Pereira will be able to get up, and when he gets up, anytime the fight's on the feet, Magomed Ankalaev will be in trouble. I do believe that. And I'm not delusional enough to think that there's zero path to victory for Ankalaev. Sure, there's a path to victory. In the stand-up, he's got a chance to catch Alex Pereira. I don't see it happening. Sure, he has power, but his only KO in like the last, 5 years was against Johnny Walker. I don't really count the Anthony Smith fight as a KO. He kind of just beat Anthony Smith up until he quit on the ground. He KO'd Johnny Walker last year in January, but outside of that, his last KO win was all the way back at UFC 254 against Jan Kutalaba. So let's not pretend like he's sending guys into orbit like Alex Pereira. Alex Pereira is KO'd at light heavyweight Yuri Prohaska twice, who hasn't lost in 10 years outside of losing to Alex Pereira. He's KO'd Jamal Hill. He's KO'd Khalil Roundtree. He's KO'd Sean Strickland. He's KO'd Israel Adesanya. He has a bunch of KO wins. Alex Pereira is able to find the KO on every single type of opponent he's faced outside of Jan Blachowicz. And that is interesting. This fight could very well go to decision. And if it goes to the cards, I do favor Ankalaev to win the decision because he does have high enough fight IQ to know to continuously take the fight to the ground. But if this fight ends in a finish, I 100% think it will be Alex Pereira that gets the finish. I do not see Magomed Ankalaev finishing Alex Pereira. And like I said, to his fans and to the people around the world who think that Magomed Ankalaev is just going to go out there and submit or destroy him on the ground, who has Magomed Ankalaev submitted in the UFC? No one. Who is he going out there completely dismantled or destroyed on the ground outside of Anthony Smith? Pretty much no one. I mean, it's been a long time since you've seen Magomed Ankalaev destroy someone on the ground. And yes, sure, you're going to bring up the Jan Blachowicz fight. He did not destroy Jan Blachowicz on the ground. He controlled him, and he kind of beat him up, but there was no damage done, so to speak. It was really just control and dominating to a 10-8 round because Jan Blachowicz offered zero offense. But he failed to cut him open. He failed to make him bleed. You had a guy on the ground for 2 rounds, and you couldn't open him up. You couldn't make him bleed. A guy that was tired, by the way. I get you were tired as well, but yeah, man. Magomed Ankalaev also has a submission loss in his career people don't talk about. He tapped against Paul Craig with 1 second to go in a fight. I'm sorry, but that's got to be a lack of coaching or just like, what the heck are you doing? There's 1 second left in the fight and you tap. I'd rather just risk going to sleep. But either way, at the end of the day, Magomed Ankalaev is a great fighter. He is obviously good. He has not lost since 2018 whenever he tapped to Paul Craig, and he's had a draw against Jan Blachowicz. Outside of that, he has been perfect in his UFC career. 19-1. It is impressive to build up a 19-1 record, but I'm just not too impressed with Ankalaev. That's the thing. Ankalaev, for me, has not been impressive. His performance against Rockage is not impressive. Knocking out Johnny Walker in 2024, it's not impressive. Everybody's knocked out Johnny Walker. Anthony Smith beating him up on the ground, it's not impressive. Going to a pitter-pat decision with Thiago Santos and getting dropped, it's not impressive. Fighting Volkan Oezdemir and Nikita Krylov to decision, I guess it's kind of impressive, but not really. Knocking out Jan Kutalaba, who's negative record in the UFC, not that impressive. It's like, that's what's the issue for me. In order to beat Alex Pereira, in my opinion, you have to be impressive. You have to be willing to put yourself in the fire and be willing to take one to give one. And I don't think that Ankalaev is ready to do that. I think that he's ready to smudge grapple. And if that doesn't work, that's his only path to victory. He's not getting a submission win. He's not getting a ground and pound TKO win. I don't see either of those. So the only way that Magomed Ankalaev beats Alex Pereira this weekend, in my opinion, is if he holds him down every single round and wins like a 49-46 decision. But I think in the fight, we will see Magomed Ankalaev take down Alex Pereira multiple times, but people are going to be surprised at how well he survives in the fight, and they're going to be shocked at like how he's able to eventually get up to his feet. And when he does get up to his feet, as I said, he's going to be as dangerous as ever. Alex Pereira will knock out Magomed Ankalaev this weekend. Mark my words.